Angelica Houston. What would you do if the person you loved most in the world kept breaking your heart, and you kept letting them? Not because you were naive, not because you didn't see it coming, but because loving them felt more real than anything else you'd ever known. That's not a hypothetical question. That's the actual lived reality of one of Hollywood's most gifted and complicated women. And for nearly 2 decades, she stayed. She forgave. She waited. Until one quiet dinner changed everything. This is the story of Angelica Houston and Jack Nicholson. A love affair so raw, so full of contradiction, and so achingly human that even now, more than 30 years later, people still can't stop talking about it. Let's start at the beginning, because where Angelica Houston came from matters enormously to understanding why she loved the way she did. She was born on July 8, 1951, into what many people called Hollywood royalty. Her grandfather, Walter Houston, was an Academy Award-winning actor. Her father, the legendary John Huston, directed some of the most celebrated films in American cinema history. Her mother, Enrica Soma, was a stunning model and former ballet dancer. On paper, it sounds like a fairy tale. But fairy tales have a way of hiding their darker chapters. When Angelica was just 2 years old, the family relocated to a grand estate in the Irish countryside. Rolling green hills, horses grazing in the distance, candlelit dinners filled with artists and intellectuals. It looked beautiful from the outside. But her father was almost never home. He was always off making films somewhere across the world, chasing the next great story. And her mother, beautiful and fragile, was emotionally distant in her own way. Then came the blow that would shape everything. When Angelica was just 17 years old, her mother was killed in a car accident. Just like that, gone. She was sent back to America to live with her father, a man who was brilliant, but rarely present. And she entered adulthood already carrying a particular kind of wound. The wound of loving someone who is never fully there. Now hold that thought, because it becomes very important later. Angelica's road to becoming a respected actress was not a straight line. Her film debut, directed by her own father in 1969, flopped. Rather than force it, she pivoted to modeling, and that instinct paid off. With her tall frame, strong features, and an otherworldly kind of elegance, she became one of the most sought-after models in both London and New York throughout the 1970s. She was not conventionally pretty by the narrow standards of the era. She was something more interesting than that. Striking, magnetic, impossible to ignore. By the early 1980s, she felt ready to return to acting. Not to ride her father's name, but to claim something entirely her own. And in 1985, she did exactly that. Playing Morose, in Prizzi's honor, opposite a man named Jack Nicholson, she delivered a performance so precise and chilling that it earned her the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. With that win, the Houston family became the first in Hollywood history to produce Oscar winners across 3 consecutive generations. Her grandfather, her father, and now her. To mainstream audiences, Angelica Houston is perhaps best remembered as the gloriously eerie Morticia Addams in The Addams Family, or as the terrifying Grand High Witch in The Witches, a performance that genuinely haunted the childhoods of an entire generation. But within the industry, she was known as something rarer, an actress of extraordinary depth, capable of making complex, powerful, morally ambiguous women feel completely alive on screen. She was extraordinary. Full stop. And yet, the part of her life that stayed with her longest, the part she wrestled with for decades, wasn't her career at all. It began at a party. Of course it did. It was early 1973. Angelica was 21 years old, just 2 months into living in California, when her stepmother brought her to a birthday gathering at a house on Mulholland Drive. The host was Jack Nicholson, 36 years old, fresh off 5 Easy Pieces, in the middle of making Chinatown, and widely regarded as one of the most charismatic men alive. The kind of man who walked into a room and rearranged it simply by existing in it. They danced all night, she stayed until morning. And just like that, something began that would consume the next 17 years of her life. Now, here's where we have to be honest about who Jack Nicholson was, and who he had always been. He never pretended otherwise. He openly admitted on multiple occasions that he did not believe fidelity was a necessary foundation